guys, it's Daniel Owens here from MMOgames.com and welcome to our EVE Online video beginner's guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at possibly one of the hardest MMOs ever created and what I believe to be the steepest learning curve ever in an MMO. EVE Online is a fully 3D sci-fi MMO that takes place in a fictional universe called New Eden. Players take on the role of space pilots, or capsuleers as they're called, and fly around space doing basically anything they want to. The game provides you with some minor guidance in the beginning, but then really opens up and lets you decide your own fate. There are no real classes in the game. Players learn skills, and those skills define who they are as an individual pilot. This is one of the main problems that a lot of new players find when they're joining EVE Online is the game gives you a small tutorial, it gives you some basic supplies, throws you out into space and says, what do you want to do now? At this point a lot of players are overwhelmed and intimidated by the game because while the game provides you certain career paths that you may follow, such as joining the military or becoming a trader, you're really free to mix and match whatever you want to create your own role in the world, and the lack of a theme park feel to it can sometimes confuse some players. Unlike other MMOs, you aren't going to be stringed along from quest to quest, running along down tunnels and paths that are leading on to another generic area. In EVE Online, you live another life in a virtual sci-fi universe. And while this game may seem complex at first, it's really just the vast amount of information that's available can overwhelm you to the point where it seems difficult, but it really isn't. The part that's difficult about EVE Online is the players. The game is open world, full PvP, which means players can hunt you down, shoot you, kill you, take your stuff, and you've lost your spaceship forever. This, for a lot of players, can turn them off. If you're not a fan of PvP, then you're really not going to enjoy this game. But for other players who want to get over that initial obstacle of not understanding what's going on in this giant mess, hopefully we can make things a little bit easier for you and get you started on a good path. Now, what you're looking at in front of you is a map of New Eden. Currently this looks like a huge cluster of dots, which is exactly what it is, but there's more to it than that. And I think this is a good place for us to start our video beginner's guide, because it's really crucial that players understand a little bit about the world, how it's constructed, and how it functions before you really dive in and start playing. Each of these dots on the map here are a solar system, and each of these solar systems consists of space stations, planets, asteroid belts, that sort of thing. Players can dock up at the space stations, accept missions, access the marketplace, or they can fly to an asteroid belt and mine for resources. Now, the reason why you see so many dots here is because all of the 300,000 plus subscribers to EVE Online all play on the one server, no matter where they are in the world. That means they've had to create over 7,500 solar systems to cater for all these players, and this number is growing. Now, to gain a scope for just how big this place is and how confusing it can get, let's zoom in a little bit. Now this is the current system I'm in here. This is one solar system. These are massive. You can fly around, there's asteroid belts, planets, it's a whole solar system. And each one of these dots is a solar system, so it's easy to say, and I believe this is a fact, that this is the largest online game universe ever created. Now, being full open PvP, that means players are able to be attacked anywhere. and this means that you're never really truly safe unless you're docked into a station or you're logged out. To help protect players when they're just starting out or when they're not in a state to fight, there's security ratings. Now, the higher security rating a solar system has, the more NPCs that are around to protect players. These NPCs are flying big ships with big guns, and only the most worthy pilots will be able to avoid these NPC police, so to speak, and be able to kill you in high security space. There's groups of players that do actually get together and run suicide missions into high security space and basically tank these ships and take all the damage while other players kill noobs around the area. It doesn't happen often, but it can be done. So what these security ratings are is they range from -1 to +1, and obviously 1 being the best means you have the most security, but then as you go lower in the security ratings, you're going to have less protection and things get a little more dangerous. The security ratings change at intervals of 0.1. So what happens is, on the map here you can see blue dots, orange dots, yellow dots, red dots. The brighter the dot in blue means the higher security rating, right up to 1. As it gets darker and goes more orange and yellow, down to red, that's low security. Right down until the final one, which is nullsec, which is what I'm going to talk about now. And it's very important for players to understand when starting in EVE. There's 3 groups of security ratings that you should be aware of, which is high sec, low sec, and nullsec. High sec is any solar system that's rated 0.5 to 1, and in this area you're generally well protected. Once you cross over from 0.5 into a solar system of a rating between 0.1 to 0.4, you're in low sec. Here there is some protection, but only very little, and you're generally not too safe here, so you have to watch your back a bit. After this you hit 0.0 and head into the negatives. This is called nullsec. There's no protection here. There's some of the hardest enemies and the toughest players. These areas can be controlled by players and colonized, and generally if you're going in here you need to be experienced or have a big group of players around you. Or if you're just willing to lose a ship, you can fly right in and get blown up. Now, how people navigate EVE Online is they jump between these solar systems through stargates. If you think of Stargate SG-1 and they walked through those portals, ended up on another planet, sort of like that, except these are in space and they teleport ships between one system to another. You can't just jump from one side of the universe to the other quite easily. When you're travelling normally you have to travel in a series of connected solar systems. What you can see here is a bunch of lines which are connecting all the dots, which are the paths you can travel to get to different solar systems. For example, here we can see this path following down to Jubilee. To get to Jubilee I would need to make 3 jumps between 3 solar systems to get to my destination. Through this, players are able to navigate through the different states and different solar systems available in New Eden. So now that you've got a bit of a picture of how the world's formed, what's going on, it's probably time we can jump into having a look at EVE and getting started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to close my map. I'm going to end up into our captain's quarters. This is like your personal home at any station you dock. There are generally several stations per a solar system, and when you dock at each of these, they're individual. A lot of them are identical, they look the same, but they're not. They're individual to that station. So you're going to spend a fair bit of time here. This is where you're going to accept missions, access the market, and a lot of the other features that are available in EVE Online. Alright, so what I want to do here, before we set off into space, I just want to quickly go over some of these features here. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there's a lot of things we're going to get to in future videos, but I just want to give you all an idea of what's available here and what everything does. I'm going to go top for bottom. I may skip and change a few to make more sense because some features go together. But first of all, we're going to start off with the character sheet. Now, in EVE Online there's no classes. You are defined by your actions, so the game is skill based. And when I say skill based, it's not like another MMO where you might use a rotation of skills on a hotbar, that sort of thing. You learn talents, like a rogue might learn gouge or backstab. It's not like that at all. Rather, each action you can perform in this world, such as manufacturing an item, using a certain ship, requires skills. Some skills require other skills to learn, and some skills can take an exceptionally long time to learn. How you get these skills is interesting though. This MMO is the perfect game for someone who's busy. Skills are learnt over time. What players do is they open the training queue in their character sheet and they can queue up skills to be learnt. These skills are learnt from skill books which you can purchase on the marketplace, and all you have to do is look at this list of your available skills on the left, figure out what you want to learn, and drag and drop over into the right menu. Now you can generally have up to a day's worth of skills queued to learn, so you might need to come in every day, day and a half, until you get onto later skills where you will need to queue them up again. But that's all you really need to do, and you're making progress. So if you don't have time to play, don't worry, because you can always remain productive and be getting ahead. Okay, now some skills take longer than others to learn, and it's really about working out what you need to use immediately, what you want to learn that's going to help you in the near future, while planning ahead for the big picture. Now, you can use any skill in EVE Online, and I stress this: don't learn everything that you find. EVE Online can become very difficult if you try and do everything. From the very beginning, you need to try and specialize in one area and train towards that. You're free to open up to new areas at any time or once you've progressed far enough in the direction you're taking, but to begin with, it's good to really focus your attention. Now, skills come in the form of everything you could think of doing in the game, whether it's operating guns, to industry, for mining, mechanics. Really, anything that you can do, use, or have in the game requires a skill. So that's an important one to remember. You've got to queue skills in there and make sure that's always active, always learning skills. We'll go a bit more into what kind of skills you should be training a bit later, but for now let's take a look at some other options in the character screen. Here, another thing to note is augmentations. These are little items you can place into your brain that'll basically give you a permanent buff until you die and lose it. And these can help you in every area of the game, so it's a good thing to look into. These can be bought on the market, so be careful with these, however, because you do lose them when you die, so don't go out and spend all your money on some implants and augmentations that make you do more damage if you're just going to lose it straight away. Now, also another thing to note is the bio. You can leave a nice message here that other players are going to see when they look up your character sheet, so you can fill that one out if you like. Standings is like your reputation in EVE Online that you might see on other MMOs. You gain reputation with different corporations, which are like guilds in this game, but there's also NPC corporations. Different factions, you can see all your standings with them and how you rate with them. To do certain missions or higher level missions, you need to gain standing with certain factions, so this is something you need to pay attention to. So if you're ever looking for your standings, wondering what it is, this is where you look for it. Security status, what I spoke about before about security ratings of systems. Players also have a security status. Now, the higher security status you have, the more highly recognized you are by the NPC corporations. If you let your security status drop by too much through performing criminal activities such as attacking innocent players or stealing from them, then you're going to lose security rating, and then eventually high security systems aren't going to let you in. The police, so to speak, are going to come and shoot you down as soon as you enter the system. So if you treasure your ability to access civilization, it's best that you don't go and perform any criminal activities. But if you're wondering what your security status is, you can always see it here. And also check out any changes. Kill rights is if someone steals from you or attacks you while you haven't provoked them, you gain kill rights. So if you see them again, you are free to take revenge, I believe, on this player until this expires. Very handy if you're looking for some PvP. If you're not finding anything, you can have a look for some of these players and see if you can hunt them down. Now, another thing, pilot license. Game time, being a subscription-based game, game time is available for purchase, but also you can buy game time in the form of a pilot license that's available to trade in-game on the market. This means you can buy these game codes and sell them on the market and make lots of money relatively easy, and it's all within the rules. Don't worry about it being looked down upon or anything like that. The community's pretty fine with that, but if you go bragging about the nice ship you got and you just plex to buy it, then you're obviously going to be shunned. And that's it for character sheet. Now let's move on. People and places. This is like your contacts window for NPCs and players. Here you can see a list of contacts that are online and that have good standing with you, which is set by you, of course. You can set whether a player is an enemy or a friend, so you can see when they're online, whether you like them or not, or whether you're at war with them. The Agents tab will show all agents that are available to give you missions that you've already visited, and their location. Down the bottom, the Agent Finder is the button you'll click to find agents whenever you're looking to do missions. Missions range from levels 1 to 4 at the moment, and as you progress you will need higher standings with the faction they belong to in order to access higher missions. These missions can range from anything like we have here, distribution, which is generally to do with courier missions, taking items from point A to point B. Factional warfare, which I believe is the militia, which is the button you can see down here, which is where whole factions fight against each other in a grand overall war. Mining is for the industry fans, and you can spend your time mining and getting paid a nice bonus for it after handing over a small amount of resources. Research and development allows players to improve their crafting mats and blueprints. Security is for the combat fans who just want to blow things up and get paid for it. And storyline follows an epic arc that follows a bit of everything. So if you're ever looking for an agent to do missions, you can just open this window, have a look for where they are, how far away they are, how many jumps you have to take. For example, we have here one jump, one jump, one jump, very close, very easy to get to. And places. You can bookmark locations, say a good spot you found, nice asteroid field, it's got plenty of ore, or an area that's quiet where you can do missions. Wherever you like, you can bookmark these locations right here. Moving on, Eve Mail doesn't need much of a description. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's the mail of the game, can be accessed anywhere, but it functions a lot like a basic Microsoft Office. Send mails, group mails, everything like that. Very simple, very straightforward. Okay, fittings we're going to skip. This is basically equipment for your ships, and we'll explain this in a second after I discuss ships. The Marketplace. This is an important one. There's won't go too much into this either, but there's one tip I'll give everyone. This is a problem I know a lot of players run into. Okay. The marketplace is much like every other marketplace you might find. It's got its categories for items that you can buy. You select them, find the items you want, list them, their price, and you can purchase them. They're all put up by players, and most items are crafted by players or found by players in missions, so everything's coming from players. In here, one mistake people make though is they find something they like, go okay, that's a nice price, click buy. This is a bad idea. You're going to make a lot of mistakes if you do this unless you purposely know what you're doing. The way the marketplace works in the EVE Online is items you put on the auction house are put on from a station. When they're purchased, these items must be picked up from that same station. They won't just appear in your mailbox like they do in other MMOs. So that means when you're buying something, you want to be wary of how far away it is to pick up. Now let's have a look at this. Units available 10, 3 jumps away. So the closest available of this item is 3 jumps away. So this means we want to click on View Details. We want to see if there are any closer ones. There isn't. But if there was, they may be more expensive. Generally it'll show the cheapest one that's the closest. But sometimes you might go, oh, it's only an extra 5,000 ISK, the currency in EVE Online. I don't mind spending a bit extra to get one that's only 1 jump away. It really comes down to how much you want to spend versus how far you're willing to travel. There are certain locations in the universe that players prefer to go to sell items. There's a system nearby where I am named Jita, which is very popular for traders to go and put all their items on the market. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind there. Science and industry, another straightforward one for now. This does go very complex, but we won't get into this until a future video. Basically, all crafters, science and research will all have their jobs appear in here, so you can keep track of what you're making, what you're researching. All you have to do is open this window and click Get Jobs. We'll go into manufacturing later, but this is where you're going to find all the jobs that you're currently performing. Contracts. This is another one you won't get into until much later in the game, or you may get into it early, it's up to you, but contracts basically are a way for 2 players to form a formal agreement. This can be between a player and a corporation, aka a guild, or a player and a player, or anyone who's willing to accept the contract. This could be for something as simple as you bought something on the marketplace that's 30 jumps away, you don't want to make that trip, so you contract a player to deliver that to you. You are able to put up contracts that people can publicly come and view, and it's a first in, best dressed. They can come in, accept it first, and take the job. Now, there is a lot of ways people get shifty with contracts and can use them to scam, and this, I know scamming is bad in games, but there's a mentality that you have to have with EVE Online that there's 2 different types of scamming. There's scamming where someone tries to steal your account information or scams real money out of you, and then there's scamming in EVE Online. Scamming is completely okay in this game as long as it's to do with in-game items only. So players can put an item up on the market, wait for someone to come purchase it, wait for them to come pick it up, let you pick it up, put it in your ship to go carry it back to your station. They can come out, blow you up and take it back, or they can promise to provide a service to you, take your money and not provide it. All within the rules. And this comes down to purely the fact that players can be whoever they want to be. If you want to be a scumbag pirate who rips everyone off and scams whoever they can, you can be. So you've got to be wary about that. Contracts is one area where you can get ripped off. Okay, we've already had a look at the map. This is the button where you access it. Next we have corporations. Corporations, like I said, are the guilds in EVE Online. Now, when you first start the game, you'll be in an NPC corporation, and this is what all new players will join, and it generally has a tax rate, which you can see here, of 11%. And that means that every mission you complete, your reward is going to be taxed by 11%. The best thing to do when you start playing the game is to leave that NPC corporation for a real player corporation that doesn't have this tax rate. They're generally pretty easy to find. You can ask in chat and you'll find one pretty quickly that doesn't have a tax rate and wants new members. Interstellar Fleet, for example, is a perfect example. They're big on letting players play how they want to play and helping them to learn and grow in that path. So if you're looking for a good corporation, you can always join these guys because they've helped me out pretty well. Now, moving on next is assets. Now, you're going to get a lot of items in EVE Online, and as you gain items, lose items, all that, you're going to want a way to track them, because items are kept at particular stations. You don't share an inventory. So this is a way for you to keep track of all your assets. You can search for them, find out which solar system they're in, which space station they're located at, and also browse all the items you own as well. So as you can see here, we can look at different items, and mine are a mess, they're all over the place. It's just bits and pieces left over from missions or from old purchases. But we can see everything I own, where it is, and I can manage everything right from this window. Now, another tip for this asset window, and one of the most useful features on it, is each name of each space station here and what solar system it is. If you want to find your way to this space station, all you have to do is right click on it and click Set Destination. Right click, Set Destination. Probably I just took away my previous one, and I can see here a route that pops up. It's one jump away, which means it's only one solar system away. And now if we go and have a look at another one that's further away, so for example 4 jumps away, you'll see a couple of coloured boxes appear here. When I said that you generally follow a path connecting between each solar system, this is what I mean. To get to my final destination 4 jumps away, I must travel to each of these solar systems detailed here. These different coloured boxes will show me what security rating they are, and I know when I'm entering each area what to expect on the other side. Okay, moving on. Next we have the wallet, which is self-explanatory. You can look at how much money you have, and you can also have a look at orders you have on the marketplace, what you're selling, what you put an order in to buy. You can also load and see all your transactions. For example, we can see here I've spent a lot of money on the marketplace recently. But other than that, that's all you really need your wallet for. Fleets are the groups or parties of EVE Online, and don't really need to go into too much detail to this yet, but that's all essentially it is. You'll use these for high level missions and other PvE events and PvP as well later on. Next up we have the browser. EVE Online has an inbuilt browser, which is a godsend, and you can view basically anything you want on here. You can go onto Google, you can look up strategies, look at loadouts, check your Facebook, Twitter, whatever you like, MMOgames.com, whatever you want to look at you can do through there. Journal. Of course, this is like any logbook or anything else you'd have in an MMO that keeps track of your quests. This is also a place to keep track of contracts and other information about your character and what you're doing at the time. Now, the easiest way to interact with agents is on this panel on the right. When you talk to them, you're going to right click on them and you're going to click Start Conversation. This is going to initiate a quest offer if they have one for you, or they're going to give you information on if you need to go somewhere else or you don't have a high enough standing, that sort of thing. Once you accept your mission, it's going to appear in here. Missions have an expiry date, so if you leave a mission sitting for too long, it will expire. And also, if you do expire a mission or decline a mission that's been offered to you, you will lose standing with that corporation. So be careful about letting missions expire or declining a mission. This means that, so if I went Start Conversation now and looked at the mission, went Request Mission, and then went, actually no, I've changed my mind, I don't want it, I would lose standing. So if you're going to request a mission, make sure you're ready to do it. Generally get a decent waiting time. I mean, this is the 18th of the 5th, 2012, this mission expires, so quite a few months. If I can't finish it in that time, there's something wrong with me. Now, as we move along, we've got the jukebox, which doesn't need explanation. That's all the songs that are available on the soundtrack of Eve, which you can change at your own leisure. Accessories, it provides you with a calculator, a log so you can see what's happened, and a notepad to keep notes. Militia office. Corporations can war against each other, and they declare war and they can go to battle, but on a larger scale there is the militia, which is whole factions fighting against each other. Players can join up with the militia after they've proved themselves and basically target other military fighters. The help windows are very handy if you are having trouble, but mainly it's used for the Show Career Agents button. Here's the different career paths that are available. Now these aren't classes, they're just types of missions you can accept. If you're looking to start out, you should have been introduced with this in the tutorial, but basically each of these people, which will change depending on what faction you are, where you are, these will start you out on the various career paths, and they'll give you small guidance towards what it takes to do that career, and then they'll give you a lead to move on. So they'll let you know where the next set of missions are, or they'll give you approval, for example, in the advanced military to join the militia, that sort of thing. And alright, ships, here we go. This is the one we've all been waiting for, I'm sure. These are what you will spend most of your time in. These ships here are kept in this window, and this is the ships that are only docked in this station, so not all the ships are owned. Now, to fly a ship, all you have to do is right click on it and click Make Active. This is going to make the ship active, and we'll be able to see it actually in the hangar out here. I won't walk all the way down here because there's no run feature in this, but my ship's going to hang out down there, which you can see. But before we can go out in this ship and fly it around, we need to fit it. Now, like I said, when there's no talents that you would expect normally from a class in an MMO, what we have here is equipment that can be fit to the ship and used in different ways. This is the fittings window. The fittings window has several different sections. There's armor rigs, which are permanent. Once you place them on a ship, you have to destroy them to get them off. But these are basically buffs to things like shield, how fast you go, how fast you shoot, that sort of thing. High-powered slots are where you fit turrets, weapons, and offensive gadgets. Medium slots, which are these ones here, are what you'll use to fit things like afterburners, warp drives, and other strategical gadgets. Your low power slots are for things like armor, for sacrificing armor for more speed, and those sort of additional buffs that you can have on your ship. There's one thing to remember when placing equipment on a ship is that it can only support so many fittings, and there's only so much power it can output. Up in the top right we see capacitor, and what this does is capacitor, sorry. And what this is your power for your fittings. Right now it says stable because there's basically nothing fit on it, and this means that no matter how long my fittings run for, I'm never going to run out of power. As soon as you start fitting things, if you go and put the most powerful items available on this ship and it doesn't have the power to support it, it's going to run out of power very quickly and those fittings aren't going to work. So you have to keep in mind what you're fitting to the ship, and a lot of strategy comes down to what fittings you have versus what fittings your enemy has, and that's what wins battles, not skills. Of course your skill as a pilot comes into play. Alright, now moving on, each ship has its own individual cargo hold. When you're going to be moving things from one station to the other, you're going to put it in your cargo hold. To access your cargo hold, just right click on the ship click Open Cargo Hold to see the contents of your ship. Now, when you want to move things from your ship to your space station storage, or vice versa, all you have to do is open the items window here. This is going to show everything that you have at that current space station and lets you manage your items and move them over to different ships. Now, this ship currently has no fittings, so we're going to go through the process to show you exactly what it takes to fit a ship. Now, first we're going to want some weapons for my ship, and right here I have some perfectly good 150mm light autocannon tier 2 weapons that I'm going to fit to my ship. To do this, all I have to do is right click and go Fit to Active Ship. As we can see, that's put the guns on my ship and taken up one of the high power slots. I'm going to do this for 3 high power slots, and then I'm going to attach an offensive gadget, as I like to call them, and this is a small NOS. What this does is it drains some of the enemy's capacitor. Now, moving on to medium slots, we have a nice afterburner here somewhere. No, micro warp drive. This lets me warp a small distance, so to speak. You basically just move really fast for as long as you have it active. So I'm going to fit that there now, and then I'm going to fit one of these X5 prototype engine innovators, and what this does is when I activate it on a target, it will slow their ship down so I can get a better shot. Finally, to stop people from escaping, we're going to attach a warp disruptor. What is this, a warp scrambler? Warp scrambler, yeah, so this is going to stop people from being able to warp away from me when I try to attack them. This is both players and NPC mobs. And now moving on to the low slots. This ship I have fit to be all about speed. So I have some low power slots that are all about speed, that sacrifice a bit of armor, make me a bit weaker, but then again, I'm very fast. Now as you can see here, my CPU isn't, my capacitor isn't stable anymore, it depletes in 1 minute. So this means if I activate all my fittings, my power is going to run out in 1 minute. This doesn't really matter for me though, because I can manage to juggle them to keep them active for long enough to fight. Now, this ship isn't the best for fighting. They're one of the pretty early ships you're going to have. They're called a frigate, which are generally small, weak, but fast ships. And that's how they stay alive. They try and go so fast that you can't hit them. Alright, now for the exciting bit. We're going to head into space and take a look at what it takes to navigate Eve. Alright, to undock, all you have to do is click this button here in the bottom left, the undock button, and you'll be taken into space. As we can see here, we've got big wide open space, not really much around, space station behind us, and a planet. Now, navigating through Eve is fairly simple. It's a point and click game. If you want to manually turn and head in a different direction, just double click in the direction you want to head, and you'll begin to turn that way. Now, to properly navigate between things like stargates and space stations and asteroid fields, right click on an empty area of space, highlight over the category you want, say a stargate, choose the stargate you want, and then you're presented with these few options. For a stargate, this is the following options: warp to within 0 meters, which will allow you to warp directly next to the stargate but not jump through it. Warp to within will allow you to approach it from a distance. Align to is what you use when you're close to it if you want to align to that either structure or player. Jump will warp to the Stargate and jump on contact. For things like asteroid belts, all you need to do is warp to them or warp within a distance. Same with planets, but for stations, instead of jump, you have the option of dock, which means as soon as it gets to the space station, you're going to dock and hop on inside. For now, let's take a look at travelling between some solar systems. First, we're going to travel to Amson, and to get there, I'm just going to click jump. Now, when deciding whether you want to jump automatically or approach the Stargate from a distance depends on the security status of the next system. If you are heading into a security rating of 0.4 or below, you're going to get a message generally letting you know so. And for these systems, you generally don't want to jump on contact because there could be players waiting on the other side ready to kill anyone who comes through those gates. So always make sure the next system you're jumping into, you know what you're expecting, and use that to make the decision on whether you want to jump on contact or not. As we can see here, here's some of the police that fly around and help you out. These icons are just showed where they are because I'm zoomed so far out, but we can have a closer look by right-clicking and clicking on Look At. If you want to get a closer look at things, this is the way you do it. Now we're going to jump through this system here. I'm going to head over to Amson. So as you can see, I jumped as soon as I approached, and I'm now in a new solar system. The solar system has different space stations, different planets. It's a completely new area. Now, for a player looking to get into a bit of combat, you might want to start doing some missions, or you may want to head to things like asteroid fields and look for random mobs. These NPC pirates are available for players to attack, and you can find them anywhere in security rating of 0.7 or below. I don't believe they appear in 0.8, I think that's the cutoff. So to find some combat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find us a mission here. I'm going to head to people and places, and we're going to find us an agent that's nearby that's going to give me a mission, and I can show off some combat. Now, what have we got? Agent Finder. Okay, so I'm going to go up. I'm looking to do missions with Caldari State, which is where I am at the moment. And I can see here I want a security mission, which is for blowing things up. And I've found there's one here, one jump away. Now with everything in EVE Online, sorry about that, to get more information on any item or any ship, equipment, anything like that, character, all you have to do is right click and go show info. This is for everything. Now for this, I'm trying to find the location of this agent. So here I can look at the location under the agent info under show info. And then I can right click and go show info, or click the eye, find this location, and set destination. So now I know I can go here, one jump away, and find this agent. Now, if you're feeling lazy and you don't want to do these jumps by yourself and you just want to travel through, you can right click on your ship and click activate autopilot. What this is going to do is it's going to make the ship fly automatically and dock at the station no matter how far away it is. It does all the work for you. A few problems here though. When it approaches Stargates, it approaches from a distance, which means that there's more time for people to attack you before reaching the gate. Also, if you autopilot and walk away and you enter low security systems, you're likely going to get blown up and you're not there to respond. So you've got to be careful and make sure you're always heading through safe areas through your whole trip while autopiloting. Okay, now autopilot's going to go dock at this station, and then we'll be able to accept a mission and go have a look at some combat. Hopefully by now it's starting to make a bit more of a clearer picture on exactly what's involved in EVE Online. It's all pretty simple once you get the hang of it, and the main problem is just that there's so much to learn and there's so much to do. But as long as, like I said earlier, you maintain some focus and direct your attention towards specific skills, you're going to progress a lot quicker. And the game will start to make more sense if you take it bit by bit. You don't have to know everything. There's players that have been playing this game since launch and still only know 50% of the game. So don't feel bad for not being an expert a month later. This isn't a game that you play for a month, grind, get to end content and put down. Generally, people who get beyond the first obstacles in this game of learning how to play are players for a long time, because it's a very addictive game, it's very involved, and it's a game that's designed to be played over the long term. And with minimal involvement needed, if you really can't invest that much time into it, you can queue up some skills every now and again. It doesn't take long, and you're involved. Alright, so we're at this station now, and we're going to talk to Sula Kate. Now that I'm at the station, I can right click on the agent and go start conversation. And she's got a mission for me, soft drink wars. So I can read here a little story information about the mission, what's going on. Generally there's a message here about declining missions, or if there's any special requirements, they'll generally be shown up here. Now, this mission requires me to go and retrieve a crate of formulas for the Quaif soft drink. I believe some pirates have stolen it, so I can see here what kind of ship I can use. I can look here, I can use pretty much anything, I believe. Yep. If there's certain ship requirements, they'll be listed there, so if you're going to use one type of ship, that's where they'll be displayed. The location of the objective. Now, you're always going to look at the objective location, right click and go set destination. Very important. So we've set the destination, it's one jump away. I've got to go to the solar system Karama. Okay, now all the information you need here is pretty generic, like most MMO. It tells you the objective, bit of backstory, and what your reward is. Now, reward here is some loyalty points and a lot of ISK for a new player. Not really, this is actually, wait until you see how much money people actually really get. That's like having 50 silver. Alright, and so we're going to accept this mission, and we're going to undock and take off and head to our first mission. I hope my Riptor's not too weak to do this, because it's generally meant for PvP. Kind of cannon fodder for my friends. Alright, so we're going to head to Karama, we're going to right click, go Stargates Karama, and then we're going to jump on contact because the next system is safe. Ship's going to start heading there. Now, anybody watching has any questions at all, feel free to comment below and leave them at any point. I'll try and answer them at the beginning of each video. We'll do a quick summary of some questions from the previous video and try and answer any questions you have. I'll try and showcase a bit of what to do or what's involved in anything you select. So feel free to ask any questions below. Alright, so we're entering Karama here, and we want to perform our mission. We know it's in this location, so we're going to right click on an empty bit of space. We can see here agent missions. Now put on this encounter dead space. This is like an instanced version of a mission that we can complete in this solar system. So we're going to mouse over that and then go warp to location.
Warp drive active.
So this is a Dead Space encounter, and this is where missions take place. They're generally separated into what players call rooms. Basically, you come to this first area, you might have to kill a few enemies before you proceed by right-clicking on this gate here. This jump gate will take you to the next room until you reach the final room and complete your mission. Now, in order to attack an enemy, you need to use all your fittings and gadgets you've got installed down here. Now, things you need to keep an eye on are your capacitor level, make sure you're not running out of power, your health, which is shown in these three bars here, show your structure, armor and shield. If they deplete, you will blow up. And your speed. You want to be constantly moving, constantly attacking and eliminating these enemies. Alright, so in order to take out these enemies, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take out these frigates. Frigates are only pretty weak ships, but we're going to head in closer and we're going to begin orbiting these individual ships and shooting them down. To do so, we right click on them, select orbit, and then choose a loop, a distance that we want to orbit from. For me, for my weapons, this is 500 meters. Now I'm going to begin heading towards the ship and orbiting all from that one selection on the menu. And while we're heading in there, a few tips. If you have things like a micro warp drive and an afterburner, you can speed up your travel time getting towards target just by activating it. But remember, it's going to use power, so you don't want to leave it running unless you can run it and remain stable, which is shown in the fittings window which we discussed earlier. Now, as I'm heading in closer here, we're going to target some of these enemies and begin to attack. As you can see, I'm shooting and hurting these enemies, although they're doing quite a bit of damage to me because, as I suspected, I am quite weak. Might have to bail out soon, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to. Right, to bail out, all I have to do is go and dock to a station and I'll walk away.
Warp drive active.
Now, destroyers are ships that are a step above frigates, which are generally what you'll run missions in. Frigates you might run a few of your tutorial missions in, but after that then generally not much use outside of using them for speeders and navigating space quickly or tackling in PvP, which is essentially getting in close really quickly to enemies and locking them up with gadgets that slow them down and preventing them from escaping. So that's combat in EVE, and as you can see, if you don't have the right fittings on your ship or the right type of ship, you can get damaged pretty quickly. I'm sure there's ways I could have handled that better, but I achieved what I wanted to. So I'm back at a station now, I'm safe, I can repair my ship by right-clicking on it. But that today, I think the video has gone on for long enough and we've covered all the basics, so I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have any questions at all, feel free to comment below if there's anything you think we missed, should include, or if anything didn't make sense, don't hesitate to comment. Until next time, fly safe, don't fly anything you can't afford to lose, and most of all, enjoy EVE Online.